Hey everyone, it's Brandy and welcome back to my channel, Brandy Janae's Bookshelf. So last week I talked about some of the worst books / most disappointing books that I read in 2018. So I figured this week I would talk about some of my favorites, but instead of doing just like a strict favorites video, I plan on doing my favorite romances that I read in 2018. And looking back at my list, I'm pretty sure all the romances that I have to talk about today all came out in 2018, which is crazy because I was not expecting that. So I'm actually going to start off by talking about the books that I don't have physical copies of because I either had e-arcs or I just read audiobook versions of them. I'm not going to talk about these books in any specific order because all of them were either 4 or 4.5 stars. I believe I gave one 5-star or one a 5 out of 5 stars. I might save that one for the end, but like I said, let's just get into the books that I don't have physical copies of, starting off with 10 Reasons to Stay by Candice Noble. This was an unexpected favorite of mine. Initially, this one is following this woman and she is in an unhappy marriage. Her and her husband were really in love, I believe, when they first came together, but as the years have gone by, they have just been drifting apart, and she realizes that something isn't right, but she doesn't know what she can do to fix it. Almost at the beginning of the book, her husband suggests that they try out an open marriage to see if that'll help their situation and, you know, maybe make them become closer again because, you know, they get to have a little experience out on the side somewhere, which is a big reason why I was just like, I have a feeling that I'm not gonna like this, but I was intrigued because I had never read anything like this that dealt with the topic at all. One thing leads to another and she ends up suggesting that they should just give it a try. She's not happy with it, but she figures it'll make him happy. So if it makes him happy, their marriage might start to look up again. So she agrees to it. He's really happy with it. He goes out one night or something happens and she ends up signing up for like a dating app and she ends up talking to this guy and they have this really quick connection and she finds out quickly that is actually her husband's boss. So she's on the fence about starting this relationship, but this guy is just like, you know, I'm really into you, and if he, you know, if your husband suggested that you do this, why not just give it a try? Basically, he tells her to be selfish for once, go after something that she wants. Like I said, I was really surprised that I ended up enjoying this as much as I did. It was unexpectedly sweet and it just gave me like all those warm feelings. This is one that was unconventional, but I think that it's one that people will enjoy. Like I said, it was one that I definitely was not expecting, but it's one that I would suggest you guys checking out if you're looking for a different type of romance or if you're even interested in seeing how this type of relationship will play out. The next one that I have to talk about that I don't have a physical copy of is Can't Text This by Tegan Hunter. This was another one that I really wasn't expecting too much from going into. After the main female character ends her relationship with her fiance, because I believe she caught him cheating, she decides to go off with her sister or move with her sister, I believe somewhere along the East Coast, maybe. I can't exactly remember all of that. And she's a teacher, so she has this new teaching job that she got in this city that she just moved to, and she decides to, or her sister convinces her to go out to this bar one night, and she is just like completely in the wrong place with the way she's dressed, but she is kind of, I guess she's tipsy basically, and she sees this guy she finds him really attractive and she makes this suggestive joke towards him and he likes it. So they end up like in the bathroom and he ends up like fingering her in the bathroom like right after they meet, and you know, she's like all caught up in the moment until like somebody starts banging on the door of the bathroom in the bar, and she's just like starts freaking out, but she ends up leaving him her number, and I think after a couple of days he ends up texting her back, and that's how they start talking, you know, not just making out and all of that good stuff in the bathroom. So they start talking. She eventually finds out that he has a kid who's about 7 or 8 or so. I can't exactly remember, but they go out on a few dates. You know, things are looking up, and school year finally starts. He knows she's a teacher, but they find out, I believe, like on parent night, that she's actually his son's teacher, and a whole lot of nonsense starts from there. But the main part of the story, like I said, is them pretty much getting to know each other through text message and not starting a relationship, but having an attraction towards each other on more than just a physical level. And this one, it was really cheesy, but it was funny. And I think it was like so cheesy that it was funny because it was like really bad jokes at times. But I enjoyed it. I went into it, I think I was probably not in the best reading mood, because looking back at it, the last book that I had read right before it, I was just like not feeling that book at all. So going into this one, it was just like the perfect romance at the perfect time. It was really cute. It had some sexy moments, and I really enjoyed it. I think this is another one that people will enjoy. I don't think it will be everybody's cup of tea, but it's a good one. Next, I have Love Sincerely Yours by Sarah Nye and Megan Quinn. I had read a couple books by Sarah Nye at this point, but I hadn't read anything by Megan Quinn. I had heard a lot of good things about Megan Quinn. I still haven't picked anything up by her. Really need to. But this is an office romance, or it starts off as an office romance. We start off following a girl. She is working at this company. She works in marketing, I believe, but she is also a graphic designer, and she's also like in love with her boss slash the owner of the company, but he does not know she exists. So she's going through all of these different meetings, fantasizing about him, even though everyone hates him because he's pretty strict when it comes to the job. He doesn't really talk to anyone, like the workers, employees, that's the word. He doesn't really talk to the employees, and just like overall, he's pretty much a grunt to most of the people that he works with. She is actually getting ready to quit because, like I said, I believe I said already, she's a graphic designer and she wants to start her own business. She wants to do freelance. She puts in her 2 weeks, but she decides to go have a meeting with him to try to tell him, like, you know, hey, I'm leaving, but my services are available, or they will be available if you want to hire me as like an independent contractor. So he pretty much laughs in her face like, why would I need you, you know, get out. And turns out that it's like her 30th birthday, I think, either that day or like a couple days after. So she goes out, he ends up coming, and one of her friends at her job works in, I think it might just be like the IT department. And she ends up, like, because she gets drunk on her 30th birthday, she ends up telling them like she's in love with him. So the friend that's in IT sets up this anonymous email, like anonymous work email, and she tells her like, here's your birthday present, send him your feelings or whatever. So she sends him this really crazy email. He gets the email and he's like equal parts disturbed but also really excited about it, because he's just like, who could this be? And they end up having this sort of like going back and forth with each other through these emails. It was one of those I was a little worried about, because I was like, are we gonna get like 50% of the book through and he still doesn't know who is emailing him? And I think it actually did get to that point where it was like 50%, and then he finally found out, or he figured out, I don't remember exactly how he figured out. Something happened and he figured out that it was her, and he got really upset, but he was also like really turned on, I guess, by it. And it ended up being her last day, and they were throwing her like a going away party, and he kind of stormed in, and whole big deal from that. And he like called her back to his office, and nothing happened. Like, it led up to something possibly happening, and then like it let the moment go. So I was just like, are you kidding me? So this book was really good for the sexual tension. So if you're looking for a book that's slow burn, has really good sexual tension, this one I suggest you check out, because they went for like a good minute with nothing happen, like not even a kiss. It was so many, I think it was like 2 or 3 times where they almost kissed and then they didn't. And I was just like, are you kidding me right now? But it was really good. It was well worth it by the time they both came together. It was really good. Gave this one 4.5 stars. So the last book that I have that I don't have a physical copy of, or I guess is two, but I'm going to talk about all of these together. So two of them I don't have physical copies of. One of them I do. I actually just ordered one of the physical copies because the other one I think is just like an ebook novella. Anyway, sorry. That is all the books in the Jock Hard series. First we have Switch Hitter, which is the prequel novella. Then we have Jock Row, and then also Jock Hard or Jock Rule by Sarah Nye. All of these are by Sarah Nye. I initially read this book first. I had signed up, like I said, once again through Inkslinger's PR newsletter thing, and I was not approved for this one. They was like, oh, sorry, not this time. So as soon as it came out, I had previously read her or listened to one of her books in the How to Date a Douchebag series. It was The Learning Hours, I believe, and I got an audio review copy, so I ended up really enjoying it. So when this was talked about, I was just like, new adult romance, that sounds really good. I already know I like her writing, so I'm gonna check that out. I picked this up on Kindle Unlimited as soon as I found out that it was available, and I absolutely flew through this one. This was another really sweet romance, especially for new adult. I feel like new adult romances tend to be, ooh, I met this person, ooh, they're sexy, I'm gonna go have sex with them, we fell in love, the end. And this was more of a getting to know each other, starting a friendship before anything romantic happened, even though they were both physically attracted to each other. And this was another almost kind of slow burn romance, because I don't think they end up doing anything like making out at the least for at least half of the book. So I thought that was really nice, because like I said, most new adult romances don't tend to happen like that. So I really enjoyed this one, which I really enjoyed all of these, which is why they're on my favorite romances. Back to Switch Hitter. This, like I said, it's a prequel novella. Follows the catcher on this baseball team. This one is following this girl who is an identical twin, and this guy, her twin ends up like, it's one of those people who dates around. She's another one that's into the jocks, and or maybe not just into jocks, but really all dudes. And she ends up having 2 dates on the same night. So she convinces her sister to go out with the baseball player because she really wants to go out with this other guy. The guy ends up having a really good time, and he's just like, I'm really surprised, because every other time he was just like, I just was not into it at all. So that was supposed to be like their last date, or at least he went in there thinking that that was going to be their last date. And then after he went with the sister of the one he thought he was with, he just like, actually want to spend more time with her. So they end up continuing. I think they go out like 1 or 2 more times, and he's really into her, but she's just like, I can't do this. He's supposed to be with my sister. He thinks he's with my sister. My sister is attracted to him, you know, or she wouldn't be having me do this. And she's conflicted because she wants to be with him, but she's like, he doesn't know that it's me. And you know, that leads into other stuff. I don't want to spoil anything else that happens. I'm sure you can guess where it ends, but I don't want to spoil the journey to get to that point. But yeah, this is, like I said, another really cute one. Another slow burn romance for new adult. I believe actually all of these are pretty slow burn for new adult, which I am surprised by, but I love it. And then the last one that was a part of the series that I read all 3 of these this year, was Jock Rule, which was the second book, like the second full-length novel in the series. This one actually took a bit of a turn. We do get a couple characters reappear in Jock Rule that was in Jock Row. This time we're following this girl who also has a pretty crappy friend, but this one time it's just really just one. But she has this best friend that she has been with for a while. They went to school together. They're living in this like 1-bedroom apartment together because they're pretty broke. She's on a scholarship, you know, she's doing everything she can. She ends up going to a party at the rugby house, and her friend disappears. Like, she goes to the keg, I believe, to either get a refill or just to keep beer, and she ends up staying there pretty much the entire night and pouring everyone's drink. And then we have Kip, who is like standing off the wall. He's one of the rugby players. They call him Sasquatch because he's big. He has a, like, they say he's hairy. I think he just has a beard, and he has like a lot of hair because he's just like, whatever, I don't care. Or that's not why. He was just like, because of the way he looks, he doesn't want people to try to use him for that. So he just let everything grow out. And yeah, so he comes up to her and says something about her pouring beer at the keg, and like, they end up talking, and like, pretty much the same thing happens. Unlikely circumstances lead to them talking and becoming friends, and then that leads into something more. And it was another just really good one. I think it's just her writing and the way she weaves together these people that normally would not be together at all, brings them together, makes it realistic, and make me love them together so much. If you guys haven't already checked out Sarah 9 and you like new adult, suggest giving her a try. The next book that I'm going to talk about is Stripped by Zoe Castile, also known as Zoraida Cordova if you're reading her YA novels. I believe she also has some romance novels under her name, Zoraida Cordova, as well. But for this one, she decided to do a name change. This book is following Robin Flores and Zach Fallon. Robin is, I believe, a teacher. Okay, I was just trying to look, and I actually don't remember what Robin did. I feel like she was a teacher, but I'm not completely sure. Anyway, that's not important. She, like, the story starts off where she got up late. She has to run to go get her laundry. And when she brings the bag home, she realizes that it's not her stuff because she finds a Star-Spangled Banner thong in the bag. She's just like, that's definitely not mine. So a guy randomly appears at her door. It turns out that they got the wrong laundry bags. And she is obviously really attracted to him. He is a male stripper. One thing leads to another, obviously. Romance ensues. I feel like this one was more of a straightforward romance. There were a few issues that came up, like, in the characters' lives that they had to deal with, and, you know, they had to learn to overcome together and alone. But overall, I think this was just a really good, really quick, or not quick, really sweet and sexy romance, which I feel like is my go-to. It needs to have like those gushy moments along with the sexy moments. The next book that I have to talk about is The Wedding Date by Jazz McGillary. This is one of the romance books that has been making its way around BookTube. This book follows Alexa and Drew. They randomly meet one day in an elevator when it breaks down, and they're stuck in this elevator together. After they're getting stuck in the elevator together and he spills his troubles about why he's there, he eventually asks her to play his fake girlfriend for a wedding that he is attending for his ex-girlfriend and his best friend. And he's just like, I don't really want to go single. So she agrees to go, even though it's something that she typically would not do. And obviously, one thing leads to another. Romance, obviously. I really enjoyed this because it also took on other issues besides just the romance. There were the racial issues and the socioeconomic issues that were brought up. And Drew not necessarily understanding everything because of the privilege that he had, and him like stepping up and owning that he didn't have to deal with that, and actually trying to learn from things that Alexa went through, or things that people Alexa knew went through, and understand why she was doing certain things she was in her politics, and, you know, the way she, like, how she was in general. And I really appreciated that, along with the romance. And the next one that I have to talk about is The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. This one is following a main character named Stella who has Asperger's. And because of this, she has a hard time connecting with people, which is a pretty common symptom of Asperger's, and I believe people on the autism spectrum. And she is with her parents, and her mom is like, you know, when are you gonna get married? When are you gonna have babies? I want grandkids, stuff like that. And she can't really picture the thought of having babies because she's like, all the noise, all the smells, you know, everything that comes with that. She's just like, no. But she also feels like she wants to be wanted, I guess, if that makes sense. So a coworker of hers makes a comment to her one day when she's like working late at work, or yeah, when she's working late, about getting practice in for her to get better, and maybe someone will like her or something like it was really a jackass statement, if I'm being honest. But she takes this literally, and she decides to hire an escort to help teach her. In comes Michael Fahn. Their relationship and their agreement evolves as they spend more time together. And this was just like a really unexpected read. I heard a lot of people were really excited about this, and I believe because it was the first time, I don't know if it was the first time, but first time that at least that I've ever heard of a romance following a character that has Asperger's. So it was completely different from anything that I had ever read before. And honestly, I wasn't expecting too much from this. I won a ARC from Goodreads, which is this copy. I need to get a finished copy. I say that every time. But, you know, I picked it up. I was just like, oh, it's probably going to be a cute romance. Probably going to be like 3 out of 5 stars. And you guys, I love this so much. This is another one that tackled some heavier topics at times. Obviously, we're dealing with a character that has Asperger's, which going into that, expecting that. But learning how someone that has Asperger's interacts with other people and how they have to do so many things. And although they might not be trying to hurt people in certain moments, or, you know, trying to, like, they're trying to fit in and be socially aware, but it isn't the same. It doesn't work the same how it works for most people in the world. And then we're also dealing with a father who has done all these wrongs on the other end, and a whole different cultural spectrum. And it was just like so many different things that were packed into this book besides just romance. But the romance was just so amazing, and it was so cute. And, you know, this book wasn't perfect, but this was like I said, an unexpected favorite, and it was really good. Can't wait to see about The Bride Test, which is coming out later this year, and anything else that Helen Hoang writes. I can't wait to see. I'm excited. I love it. Yes. And the last 2 books that I have to talk about are both part of the same series, and that is A Princess in Theory and A Duke by Default. So I decided to talk about obviously both of these together because they are both part of the Reluctant Royal series. This one is following Naledi. I can't remember exactly what she's studying, but she is a grad student and she is in like a science field. And at the beginning of the story, she is getting all of these emails saying that she's betrothed to this African prince. She grew up in the US. Most people, you would get that email. You're like, okay, whatever, that's spam. And it made it worse because they kept saying all we need is like your photo ID and your social security number, and, you know, we can get moving forward from there. So she's just like, this is spam. I'm gonna need them to stop emailing me. And they just keep doing it. This prince, who's actually real, decides that he's gonna go to her and he's gonna he's gonna go find her, because he's just like, he doesn't want to marry some random person or the people who are trying to marry him. So he's gonna go find his betrothed. He comes in, she doesn't recognize him, so he decides that he's gonna pretend to be someone else to try to get her to fall in love with him. And this is the year that I discovered Alyssa Cole, and I'm probably gonna read anything that she writes from this point forward. This is another one that dealt with more than just a romance. There were some social issues that came up, like women in, I guess, their STEM fields, and how they can be portrayed, especially Black women, because there were things coming up where she was like, I don't want to be perceived as the angry Black woman. So she would take on more work than she honestly should have been doing for where she was, especially like being an assistant. And there were just a lot of different things, and also addressing the privilege of this prince, because he's a prince, he's had all these things in his life, and because she didn't, she has had to work for things, but she's also had to learn not to judge him based off of the things that he's had, because that was just the circumstances that he was in. The last book that I have for this video is The Duke by Default, like I said, also by Alyssa Cole. This one, I definitely did not go into this thinking that, or I went into this thinking that I probably would not like it, because this one is following Portia, who is Naledi's best friend. We see we see her enough in A Princess in Theory, and in that book, she is like the worst friend. I was just like, throughout the book, whenever she was showing, I was just like, you need to leave her, because she did not seem to care anything about what Naledi was doing. So like I mentioned in A Princess in Theory, Naledi was a grad student, and she was working, I think, a job for money, or maybe like 2 different jobs, plus she was doing all of her work for school, and, you know, being a lab assistant, all these type of things. And Portia would just call her up randomly, or show up at her apartment in the middle of the night when she had stuff to do the next morning, you know, things like that. And I was just like, Portia also came from like a place of privilege. She came from a family with money, and she kind of just used that money to her advantage to do what she wanted. She did treat Naledi when Naledi allowed her to, but there were also a lot of times where she took advantage of her time. And I really didn't like Portia by the end of A Princess in Theory. So going into this, I was just like, I really don't care, but I'm gonna read it because I love The Princess in Theory. So I picked this up, and I love this more than A Princess in Theory. I didn't think I would, and I found myself hesitant to say that, but at the end of the day, this was so much better than that one. Or not so much better, but my enjoyment level of this book was so much better. I think more so because of the tension between the characters. Also, who would have thought that I would have been into a relationship with such a huge age gap with an older guy? I think the guy is like 10 years older than her or something. Never thought, like, I was one of those people who I was like, that's kind of creepy, like, no matter what, because I was just like, I don't know. It's just like, it's weird, because it's just like, when he was 18, you're 8, like that type of thing. That's how I think. But this book made me rethink everything. She ends up taking a trip to Scotland to study under Tavish McKenzie. I think she gets like this apprenticeship, and he's a sword maker or something like that. And she pretty much goes and turns his life upside down, and he's not all that happy with it, but it also is a good thing. And like, I don't even know, I wish I could just like take the feeling out of my chest that I felt while reading this and just like give it to y'all, because it was just so amazing. The sexual tension, the like, also another thing, like dealing with the extra things that were going on in the background besides just the romance. Portia finds out that she possibly has ADD. She also deals with somewhat negligent parents. She grew up with parents who are always just like, you're not as good as your sister, which is kind of a sucky thing to do. They would always be like, well, your sister has this condition, but she's still doing all of this. What are you doing? You know, it's just like, when are you going to get over doing all these other things to just come work for the family company? I was just like, seriously? Just like, okay, you're going to put her to, and they like did that at every turn they got. Anytime that they had any opportunity, they would put her down. I was just like, that's not going to make her do anything that you want her to do. So I was glad that Portia was redeemed in this book, because man, in A Princess in Theory, I was just like, I really hope we never see her again. So I'm glad that we got this, and I can't wait to see what else she does with this. But right now, this is my favorite. I mean, I've only read the 2, but this is my favorite of this series so far. There's another book coming out this year. There's also a novella currently out, so looking forward to all of those. So those were all my favorite romances that I read in 2018. I'm pretty sure all of them, like I said before, it came out in 2018. Let me know if any of these would have shown up on your favorite romances of 2018. Oh my goodness, can you hear the wind? And if not, let me know what were some of your favorite books or favorite romances that you read in 2018. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you again in the next one. Bye.